toll free 1-866-928-3310, and we'll send you out a no obligation information kit absolutely free. 866-928-3310. The CFRN Emini Futures Cast is now on Stitcher. Listen to us on your iPhone, Android phones, BlackBerry, and WebOS phones. Stitcher is smart radio for your phone. Find it in your app store or at Stitcher.com. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio.
Are you ready, Steve? Andy? Yeah! Bert? Well, all right, fellas. Let's go!
You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Today's broadcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download at www.audibletrial.com/CFRN. Over 85,000 titles. Choose from mystery, romance, religion, science, technology, business, New York Times bestsellers, even children's books. You name it, Audible has it. With 85,000 titles to choose from, you're sure to find the perfect audiobook for yourself or to give as a gift, and it's absolutely free. Just point your browser to audibletrial.com/CFRN. That's audibletrial.com/CFRN. And become a part of the audiobook revolution by downloading your free audiobook today. audibletrial.com/CFRN.
Hey, trader, want to get rich quick? Well, good luck with that. If, on the other hand, you actually want to learn how to trade, the place to be is www.cfrn.net. Tune in Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern for our daily devotional, and then spend the next 3 hours learning how it's done from professional traders who actually trade for a living. That's www.cfrn.net. Every trading day from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. CFRN, a community of believers who trade for a living.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN Emini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things Emini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro, and even T-bills. Joining us today from our studios in Boston, Mr. Michael Borth. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter, and from our studios in Las Vegas, Nevada, Mr. David Williams. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Tuesday, 2nd day of September 2015. Let's take a quick look at the numbers. Cash markets, S&P 500 is up 7 points. The Dow Jones Industrials are up 107. NASDAQ up 28. This is about 0.5%. The Russell 2000 is up, we'll give it 2 3/4, or 1/4%. So markets are well off the highs of the session. No doubt about that. Crude oil, Mr. Volatility, what do we got? Down $1.98, still trading at $43.43 a barrel. We did a little reading, a little digging, and we learned a little more yesterday about that whole oil deal between Mexico and their hedging position. Tomorrow is Thursday. Ed Corey will be with us. He's our resident crude expert. He used to trade, whereas we trade contracts of crude, he used to trade ship loads, ship as in boat, ship loads of crude. And so he comes at it from a little different perspective, but certainly he understands the mechanisms and how it all works, and so he'll be with us tomorrow as my co-host at 1:30 p.m. Eastern. Today at 1:30 we have Jim White Bar Cox. He'll be in the co-host seat with me today. Alright, back to the numbers. We left off with oil, which is down $2.02, and that's roughly 5%. Gold is down $6, and that's 0.5%. In the Asian markets, I've got all red. Nikkei down 70, Shanghai down 11, and the Hang Seng down 250. And let me flip the page here to my European markets, and the DAX up 32, so there is green on the screen. The FTSE is up 24. The CAC 40 is up almost 14. So it's somewhat of a quiet day. We had a radio trade yesterday. Consider being short below 1913 if, well, it did trigger, as we know, and it did do the deal a couple times. However, on the initial approach, it did in fact pull back more than what we typically risk on an intraday trade, which is 8 ticks. However, as you can see, despite all of this, we're pretty much right back where we are. Right back today, we're right back where we were this time yesterday. Here's the 12 noon hour Eastern. And if we roll over to September 1st and take a peek at the 12-hour noon, here we are. Okay, the low of the hour was 1916.25, and currently we're trading, or we have 1918.5. So basically, just in that same neighborhood. Got a little lower going into the afternoon. A little higher overnight. Some consolidation here at last week's weekly trading zone for 1, 2, 3, 4 hours, and then we ran up and touched last week's zone 41.42 to the tick, back down, a little more consolidation, and the market appears as though it would like to wind its way down to this 1910/11. Keep in mind, we have, and I put this out on the Google Plus page last night for the benefit of everyone. I said this is not a prediction, but I just thought you should know that we only have one more weekly trading zone below us, and that was when prices were trading. Let's see, I put that out last night, probably somewhere around here, and our lowest zone was in fact at that time about 60 points away. Now what's interesting is during this little rally here, we came up and we tagged our weekly trading zone that's above. Okay, when I switch these lines out, you'll see exactly why this little area right here has been so important this week. It's really not so much because of last week's zone as it is this week's zone, but we did reach up and touch the 41.42 overnight, no denying that. Okay, so we'll see what happens today with our live radio trade. We'll see if it can drop from 13 to 11 without having to back up for more gas, gain some energy. Okay, so those are the numbers. One more time, U.S. markets, cash, S&P 500 is up almost 7 points, 6 3/4. Dow Jones Industrials are up 95 points. NASDAQ is up 27, and the Russell 2000 is up 1.5 points. Now, we'll talk about this a little later in the show, but the war between Jeb Bush and Donald Trump is reaching some bizarre heights. I don't know if you're following this or not. Former Florida Governor Jeb Bush unveiled a series of broadsides against GOP presidential rival Donald Trump on, well, today, Wednesday. I think I might have said Happy Tuesday. It's actually Wednesday, huh? Anyway, Happy Wednesday. Is it already Wednesday? Goodness, it is.
It is.
Time flies. Yeah, I think I said Happy Tuesday, so yeah, it's Happy Wednesday. So Happy Wednesday to you. And I did get the date right, though. It is the 2nd day of September. And we do have a partners meeting tonight, okay? So if you're on the trial and you want to be in the partners meeting, behind the closed doors, you need to get busy. Click the link in the email that was sent to you, or if you have about what it takes to become a partner, you didn't get the email, send us an email, support@cfrn.net, or give us a call, 949-42. The latest in what has become an increasingly nasty back and forth between the two Republican heavyweights, an open feud that has bordered on the bizarre. Bush's Wednesday salvo was released in the form of a quiz titled, "Which Candidate Are You?" His campaign said it was promoting the interactive ad on Facebook and targeting people who like pages related to Donald Trump. The quiz started with generic policy questions highlighting the real estate magnate's past deviations from Republican Party orthodoxy. For example, it asked people to say whether they would prefer a candidate who supported the biggest tax increase in history or enacted $19 billion in tax cuts, the latter choice being a reference to Bush's record in office. Other questions hit Trump on gun rights, his past praise for Democratic presidential frontrunner Hillary Clinton, and so on. However, the quiz took a sharp turn on the final question when it accused Trump of germophobia. Yes, germophobia, and asked residents if they would prefer a candidate without that pathological condition. Now, let me just show you, so you don't think I'm making it up, because I couldn't make that up. Here's what it looked like. Would you rather support a candidate who strives to shake every hand everywhere, or is a germaphobe when it comes to shaking hands? Well, maybe they don't know that one of the most highly paid actors on TV and one of the most popular sitcoms is a germaphobe, and also one of the most popular television shows that has a very popular judge, one of the most popular judges, is also a germaphobe. So maybe they don't know that it's like in to be a germaphobe. Trump has long been described in various press reports as a germaphobe. He was once quoted calling handshakes barbaric, and according to New York Magazine, he wrote in his 1997 book that he was a clean hands freak and detested shaking hands. You know, I wash my hands quite a few times a day. Not enough to make them raw, not enough to be considered a condition. I just like to have clean hands. I'm also not afraid to shake hands. Sometimes I'm a little sketchy with kids when I see that the hand, just came out of the nose. Yeah, I'm a little reluctant to shake that hand. But other than that, yeah, I'm okay. One of the curses of American society is the simple act of shaking hands, and the more successful and famous one becomes, the worse this terrible custom seems to get. I happen to be a clean hands freak. I feel much better after I thoroughly wash my hands, which I do as much as possible. Donald wrote this in The Art of the Comeback. Now, why he felt that he needed to bare his soul to that level in the book, The Art of the Comeback, I don't know. And remember, this is a guy who made a comeback. Now, there's no question that America needs to make a comeback. Trump personally stood on the brink of bankruptcy at one point, and he asked a group of bankers to take, to just roll the dice one more time on him to the tune of $1 million, and they did. He turned it all around. Now, since then, has some of his businesses gone bankrupt? Sure. Did he do anything illegal? No. It's business, right? I'm thinking we need a soldier and a businessman in the presidential chair in the Oval Office. Can't have two. So I'm thinking we need to go with a businessman who knows how to hire people, and he's not afraid to fire people, according to the TV show. And so he can put the right soldier in the right chair to do the right job to keep America safe. Because if we don't get our economic situation turned around pretty quickly, there's going to be some fellas knocking on our door, and they got a pretty large standing army. I understand we got bigger guns, but they got a whole lot of boots on the ground wherever they want to put those boots, and they haven't threatened to come here, but they have said we would like to get paid back our money. And is it possible that America could actually be a comeback? Could we do a comeback? Could we get out of debt? Could we pay off all that interest? Could we shed it somehow? Could we just make it go away? I don't know. It's going to take a very unique individual in the Oval Office to make any of that happen. Trump told the Des Moines Register, "I will meet many, many people, and then if I decide to run, I'll just go ahead and shake hands with everybody." So there you have it. Donald Trump saying that if he is given the slot as the GOP candidate in the upcoming presidential elections, he will overcome his germophobia, and he will indeed shake hands with everyone. I need to tune my bell. All right, Michael is going to come. He's going to do a recap of the live trading room, everything that happened today, the good, the bad, the stuff that got away. After that, I'll be back with our good word for the day. We'll look at some of the Concierge Trade Alerts that transpired overnight and into this morning. You may have seen on the Google Plus page a preliminary look at some of the movement that happened rather early on last night. It was quite breathtaking, if you will. After that, David will be with us for Forecast from the Edge, and then our every Wednesday co-host at 1:30, Jim White Bar Cox, founder of the infamous White Bar Trade. He will be with us to talk about trading, life, headlines, news, whatever he wants, and whatever you want, because we're here each and every day to do what? To answer your questions. That's a true story. All right. Now, it appears the candles just disappeared from my chart. Did you have anything to do with that, Michael?
I did not.
You did, huh?
I did not.
Huh. Wasn't that
I
strange?
still have candles on mine, so if you want me to take it.
Well, let me see if they disappeared from my other chart. They did. They disappeared from my other chart as well.
It says you're connected.
Oh, it does. I see that. Yeah, why don't you go ahead and take the screens, and I'll try to figure out what the heck's going on.
Alright.
Oh, I think maybe they might be coming back. Although, I still don't know. I thought they were coming back. What do we got here? What do we got? What do we got? Alright, go ahead and take the screens. Michael will do a recap.
Right.
You've already got them? Okay, let
Got
me
'em.
hit this. Alright, and you're good to go.
Alright. Alright, let me hit the record button, and then we'll start rolling. I only had 14 trades today, so this probably won't take very long.
I'll stretch it out while I find my charts.
Okay. Alright, good afternoon, everyone. Today is Wednesday. It's Wednesday today, the second day of September 2015. Let's see. We have, To take the free trial, just go to our homepage at CFRN.net. In the right-hand column where it says name, put in your name. Where it says email, put in your email. Then click register for a free trial. Once you do that, you will be sent a confirmation link. Okay? You must click on the confirmation link. All right? You must click on that confirmation link. Name, email, register for a free trial, and click the confirmation link. All right? Yeah, that's how you take our free trial. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Holy moly. I'm just opening up the question thing right now. The podcast and just, that's a whole bunch of stuff. Okay. All right. Karen, you lost audio. Okay. You should be back now. All right. To get to our spreadsheet, let's go back here. To get to the spreadsheet, you go view live trading room results like that. Then you go here and click there. Okay. And that will bring up the spreadsheet, and you scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you'll see what we did today. All right, today in the soybeans, we lost 16 ticks. In crude oil, we made 41. In gold, we made 19. The ES, we made 4. In the euro, we lost 5. So we're minus 12.5 on the ES-euro combination there. Today it took us 1 minute and 1 trade to get to our goal for the day, $100 a contract, and we took a total of 14 trades. On the month, now we're at $490 a contract. That is with 2 days, $245 a day average gross, okay? If you apply an $8 commission to every trade we've taken after yesterday's Whopper, you would have a net profit of 202, and if you apply a $5 commission, you would have a net profit of 310. Okay. On the year so far, we are up $42,225. That's over 163 trading days, averages out to $259 a day. $259 per day average. Okay. That is that. All right. So let me minimize this before I accidentally do something wrong. We'll start out with gold today. Okay. On gold, what did we end up with on gold? We ended up with plus 19. Let's see, we only had a few trades here too. Our first trade on gold was right in here. We made 6 ticks profit on that one. It was a close above the trend line. The second one was a close below the trend line. We made 3 ticks profit, putting us at plus 9. And then over here we grabbed 10 ticks profit on this move, putting us at plus 19. Okay. Just looking through, gold got really choppy in here. And it looks like I stopped looking at it. Pretty much. And I did. And that was pretty much it on the gold. There really wasn't anything else other than what we took, those 3 trades. There was one more right here, one more short right here that we missed. It's right in here. Okay, and honestly, that looks like it on the gold. So we got 3 out of 4 trades that were possible, and we made 19 ticks today on gold. On the ES today, we have 4 ticks profit. All right, our first trade was right in here. We made 8 ticks on that. That is where we got our goal for the day. And our next trade was right over here. We lost 8 ticks on that. Okay, so we were break even at that point. And we missed this nice short right in here. And then we got into this pattern in here where I was drawing trend lines, waiting for it to break out of it. And finally it broke out of it way over here. Okay. We took a long trade expecting it to get back up to that area, but it never quite made it. We got 4 ticks profit on that. Okay, we missed this short right here. Let's see, there was another short in here that was a break even. A long in here. Well, that would have been going right into dynamic resistance, so I wouldn't have done that. A little bit of a long right here that went right up into the area that it came down from. Okay, and during the break, a short there, and that's about it. Okay, and that's about it. So we were +4 on the ES. All right, on crude oil. Crude had some pretty good volatility today, so we were able to take advantage of that early on. Crude inventories came out today too. We had said, I didn't actually do it, but we had said sell 44.89 right in here, and I know we have at least one partner who made 31 ticks on that. All right, so here we go. In crude, this was our first trade in crude. Now you can see the crude one took 2 minutes to finish, where the ES took 1 minute. The ES finished first, so that's why I said $100 a contract is where we were. We took 21 ticks on this first trade on crude. Okay, 21 ticks right there. And right here we took 8 ticks on that, putting us at +29. And 12 ticks on this. I don't know why I have an arrow there. But we took 12 ticks on this right here, putting us at +41. Or it might have been from here to here. I think that arrow's the one that's extra. No, that arrow was right. I don't know. There's an extra arrow in there somewhere. But we ended up with 41 ticks after that right there. Okay. You see the crude inventories came out down here, and we said sell right in here. And it worked out pretty well if you did that. Now, I'm just going to scroll over that whole section because it was moving around too fast if you didn't already have your order on where I said. But there was a shorting opportunity there, and there, and here, and break even over here. We took a long, we got a break even. This was dynamic resistance right there, right above a momentum trade, so we didn't do that. I missed that one, and there's a lot of volatility in here during the break. Long trade from right in here. Short trade right there. And that's pretty much it. There's a down close of the current bar would be another short trade here on a crude. Okay, we ended with 41 ticks on the crude today. 41. Yeah, it was good crude trade today, John. And there's the down close that I just said. Down close on that bar would be another short. 43.72 just dropped down to 43.64. Okay. Soybeans. We ended with -16 on the soybeans. We lost this one, and then we lost this one. This one went right through our stop. This one kind of stopped us out to the tick, and eventually ended up going through it a little more, and then moving down. So we're at -16 ticks. We had one break-even trade right here on the soybeans. And on the euro. On the euro, this trade right here I kind of messed up. We had -5 on the euro because I should have moved my stop to break even on this one. And when I went to move it to break even, right in here, I went to move my stop to break even, but I didn't get it there in time. So I moved it to -5. And I ended up stopping out with -5. I totally messed that trade up though. I should have had my stop at break even right away. Okay. And that was it. That was our day today. -16 on soybeans, +41 on crude, +19 on gold, +4 on the ES, -5 on the euro. It took us 1 minute and one trade to get to our goal, and we took a total of 14 trades. All right. So on the month, we are up $490 a contract. That is an average of $245 a day so far. I have 14 trades, John. Last month we were up $7,200 a contract. That was our best month of the year last month. On the year so far, we're up $42,225 a contract over 163 trading days. That is averaging out to be $259 a day. You're welcome, John. All right. To take our free trial, again, you just need to go here to our homepage at cfrn.net. In the right-hand column where it says name, put in your name. Where it says email, put in your email. Then click register for a free trial. If you do that, you'll be sent a confirmation link. You must click on the confirmation link. Okay. If you don't click the confirmation link, you do not get a free trial. All right. That's that. Yeah, there. Okay, so with that, I'm going to stop the recording. And Dwayne, I don't know if you're ready. If you have charts again or don't have charts again. Phoenix is even available. All right, I'm guessing Phoenix is not available at the moment. We're going sideways here. The ES looks like the only thing that's actually got a possible trade set up. Yeah, you see the cycle going down really steep here on the Russell, so we're not going to do anything with that. On the ES, we would need a close above this trend line. Okay, we would need a close above that trend line. It's got a low of 23. It's going to have a high of 24. So an up close there at 24 on the ES would be a long trade. So I put a buy stop at 24 and a quarter. Okay, buy stop at 24 and a quarter. That last one that we had mentioned over here on Crude, we had said sell the down close right there. That went from 72 down to 64 for an 8-tick gain. And then it started to move back up and go sideways. It didn't put in a lower swing. So we don't have a trend over there on the Crude. Okay. And let's see. The euro. Okay, this has changed over here now. The cycle's starting to go down kind of steep over there on the ES, so I'm going to take that order off. On the euro, we have a low here of 46. We're going to have a high of 50. We will put a buy stop up there at 51. Okay. All right. Slide this over so we can make sure we're still doing the same thing. 46 up to 50, so buy stop at 51. That would be a momentum long trade. Okay, a momentum long trade. Momentum trade, the difference between momentum trade is the risk management because the entry is already on the other side of the MA1. Hey, Phoenix, are you there? Sounds like you're there.
Yeah, I'm back. My charts, I had to log out and log back in. I finally got them back.
Okay. That's good.
Alright, so you done?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm all set. If you're ready.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright. Okay, S&P 500 Emini Futures. This is where we're at. This is where we're back to. Price did a reversal on us during that little short period of time, and we went right back up and we touched 18. We got to a high of 25 and a quarter. We haven't quite touched 26. It's not a trade we were looking for. The only one we were really interested in was this one here, which was the only one we talked about, so I'm not going to dive in on this late. We'll just see what happens over the course of the hour. The market doesn't appear to have a whole lot of energy in it to make it do anything spectacular, so we'll watch it and see what happens and what does transpire. I got to get my browsers back open because I had shut them all down. I was actually getting ready to do a complete reboot when
Okay.
finally Google got a new logo today, guys. For those of you that haven't noticed, they say they'll keep this one for a while. They've had several changes over the years. There's an article out about it today. It looks pretty plain. It's lacking the serifs of their old logo, the sans serif. Not a serif in sight. Okay. Let me find my spot. Okay, been there. Skipping that. Okay, today's topic for our good word for the day is prayer. Something we all could use more of. And speaking of prayer, a friend of this radio station, a high-profile figure, but a very private individual, is faced with some very serious surgery. He's looking at a triple bypass, and so God knows his name. We don't have to publicize his name, but just know that that one of us is facing some difficult decisions. Really, he's wrestling with a decision right now as to whether or not he wants to have the surgery. And so, hopefully, I'll know more today. And when he's all better, and I'm believing that God will heal him one way or another, then I think he'll probably be here to tell his story and share with us exactly what happened through this whole ordeal. It's not something that just cropped up. It's been ongoing for a while. So just know that one of the members of this community really does need your prayer, and the prayer that they need more than anything. Yes, they need a prayer for healing, for peace, all of that. But what they really need is to hear from God. More than anything, they need to hear from God because they're willing to do God's will for their life once they are for sure what that really is. Okay. All right. Psalm 6:2 tells us this. Trust in him at all times. Pour out your heart before him. God is a refuge for us. Selah. Pour out your heart before him. More than anything else in life, Hannah wanted a son. We've all read that story. And as the years passed, she wrestled with disappointment and despair. And Hannah was in distress of soul, praying to the Lord. 1 Samuel 1:10. It actually says she was in bitterness of soul, prayed to the Lord, and wept. However, she did two things that worked, and they'll work for you too. Number one, instead of turning away from God, she turned to God. Instead of praying less, she prayed more. She knew that while her husband couldn't give her a child, God could. She may not have been happy with God's timing, but she never doubted his goodness. Unfortunately, one of the things we're tempted to do when things fall apart is to avoid God's presence. Now that is a huge mistake, because he's actually the one you need the most. I know that it's difficult to pray when your heart's breaking, But unless you've prayed with a broken heart and a deep sense of need, then you've really never poured your heart out before God or learned what the Bible truly means by prayer. Most of us don't find God at the top of the mountain. We find him in the deepest, darkest valley of our life. It's at the end of ourself that we find the beginning of God. Number 2. This is what Hannah did, okay? She didn't just think about what she wanted. She also thought about what God wanted. She actually made a vow saying, Lord Almighty, if you will not forget your servant, but give her a son, then I will give him to the Lord for all the days of his life. That's 1 Samuel 1:11. She made a vow saying, Lord Almighty, if you will only look on your servant's misery and remember me, and not forget your servant, but give her a son, then I will give him to the Lord for all the days of his life, and no razor will ever be used on his head. Shortly after that, Samuel was conceived. When you're willing to make a promise to God that he can hold you to, which is what a vow is. Now, sometimes we make God promises and maybe we don't hold up our end so much, right? This is serious business when you make a vow to God. Think about it the next time you utter a God promise, okay? When you're willing to make a promise to God that he can hold you to, you're starting to get truly serious about this thing we call prayer. And that's when God will get serious about your prayer as well. So pour out your heart before him in brokenness. Don't turn from him. Turn to him and listen. One of the most key elements of prayer, which I think is the least talked about, is listening to God. We go to him like some genie in a bottle and we rub it 3 times and we get our magic wishes. What he has to offer us is wisdom. What he has to offer us is his word. What he has to offer us is a way to live our life upright, with integrity, with dignity, with honesty. But we're so busy blabbering about everything that's wrong and everything we need. There's nothing we can tell him that he doesn't already know. The one thing he's waiting to hear from you is, I will follow whatever you tell me to do. Whatever it is that you want from my life, that's all I want. That gets his attention. That's when you'll feel his hand at your back, his breath on your neck, and you'll see evidence of him in your life, in everything that you do, as doors that you didn't even know existed begin to fly open. And ones you've been trying to break down, kick down, disappear. The door's not even there anymore, because it was not God's best for you. And so today, as you take time to pray, think about what it is you're really doing. You're communicating with the very one who created the heavens and the earth, hung the moon and the stars, put breath in your body. Some point in your life, some years ago, we're all people of a different age, some doctor held you up by your heels, or some midwife, or some taxi cab driver, and slapped you on the bottom, and you started to cry. Think about that. How far have you come? Remember, we come into this world with nothing. And the only thing we leave with is who we were. That's all we take with us, who we were. And so I ask you today as you go in to pray, who are you? And that's our good word for the day. Be encouraged, brother. There's an answer. All right, let's take a look at this chart. We have broken up through this weekly zone from last week, 26-27. Might as well go ahead and just let you know that what the market's struggling to do right now is to get back up to 37.38. Not last week's zone, 41.42, but this week's zone, 37.38. And so we're sitting at 29 right now. So if the zone is in fact 37.38, here's what we'll do. We'll consider being long above, let's see, 1935. If the opportunity presents, we're currently at 19, 29, 75, 30, 30 and a quarter. Okay. And then towards the end of the show today, I'll get these zones switched, and I'll, worst case, tomorrow when the show opens, I'll have the new zones up for you, or shortly thereafter. And remember now, partners have the zones before the market opens every Monday morning, 6:15 a.m. Eastern. All right, you can have them too. Partners meeting tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern. Michael, you still there? Or are you already gone?
I'm still here right now.
What was the recap of the recap today?
Today it took us 1 minute, one trade to get $200 a contract.
1 minute, one trade. Okay. Now, what is it that you do different than what we teach every one of the partners?
Nothing.
Hmm.
Nothing.
Okay.
I do the same thing.
I mean, you don't have some secret device or like a little crystal ball off to the side or some kind of indicator or oscillator or any of that?
Mm-mm.
You just go in and you just using the rules of the trade, because we only use 2 of our trades in the live trading room. We use the slingshot trade and the momentum trade. So you just apply those rules, you look at a chart, you take a trade. Is that what you're saying?
That is it.
Huh.
I look at what's in front of me and I trade it.
So are you saying that anyone within the sound of my voice, if they were willing to obey the rules, that there's no reason that they couldn't do the same?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
That is what I'm saying.
In that video with Dan, that candid conversation the other day I had with Dan, I said, you know, Dan, it's taken you, he brought it up, it's taken him a few months to get to this point where he was ready to go live. And oh, by the way, part 2 of that video will be produced this afternoon, guys, or tomorrow. I may have something that prevents it from happening today, and you'll get to find out what happened exactly. And at one point I asked him, I said, you know, what do you think could have gotten you to this point sooner? You know, because like most people, he struggled a little bit, but he didn't give up, unlike some people. See, some people give up, but he didn't. He just pressed on. And I said, what do you think might have gotten you here a little quicker? And it's crystal clear. It's on the video. Listen to it. Let it get down in your spirit. He said, I could have listened to what you said. I'm sorry, what did you say? He says, I could have followed your advice. Oh. And he was speaking not just to me and the mentoring sessions that he and I did, but he was speaking of Michael as well. In other words, if he had just, got in the groove and ran with it, he would have gotten to the point of going live much quicker. But like most of us, we resist that. We think we have a better way, and ultimately you may have some way that works better for you. But in the beginning, see, that's where people get twisted up, is in the beginning. You simply need to learn how to make $100 a day in 10 trades or less. And you know what? Maybe if you can't learn how to make $100 a day in 10 trades or less, I don't know, maybe trading's, I don't know, maybe it's as blank. Maybe the future's as blank as my screen just went again for the second time. So, do you see that?
I'm looking at
All my
something
candles
else.
were there?
Yeah, I do see that.
Yeah.
I do see that.
They went away and then they came back. Huh.
Oh, at least they came back.
That's bizarre. Alright, well, let me jump through this recap as quick as I can before all my candles are gone again. And, yeah, Alan, it's a hard issue. It is. Alan, who's a missionary, says, the person asked that being a private person, that their name not be put out because everybody knows who the person is. But anyway, is there a specific focus of prayer, such as the health issue? Yeah, it is a hard issue. It's blockage of the arteries. And Alan goes on to say, I'm not nosy, but we teach healing here in Africa, and I have seen God touch people. I would be willing to call the person and pray for him. You know what, Alan? Check your chat box, please. Okay. Alright. Okay. I think I've covered all the comments and the rants in the chat box for now. Except Karen. Did I get yours, Karen? Oh, Karen, you got your audio back? Okay, good. Alright. Alright, how much time we got? Well, we got 5 minutes, so we can wind our way through quite a bit of this. Here we go. Alright, we'll start over here at the S&P. Last night we said to consider being long above 1920. In the first hour that triggered 1920, we ran up 12 S&P points. Now, we're still in the land of the giant candles because I don't know if we have a new normal, but the old normal said that and this held out for years, through slow times, good times, bad times, up times, down times, that the average true range for the S&P 500, including Globex, was 20 points. It would get down to 18 and go back to 20 and then get down to 18 and just back and forth. So, this hour ran 12 points, not 12 ticks, 12 points. The swing high of this candle is 1932. Okay? Now, if you're just looking to take your 2 points out of the market, well, that's fine and you're done. Okay? If you trailed your stop, right? Now, this thing got up to 33.75. So that's 13 3/4 points. Now, if you're trailing your stop, it took a pretty good pullback here. Okay, fair enough. Now, if we just isolate that hour, all right, right here, what do we have? Look at the tail of that candle. That's a 50% retracement from the open of the hourly candle that triggered to the swing high. 50% retracement. Now, who trails their stop 50% behind price? And even if you were trailing your stop 50% behind price, you'd have still got stopped out. You'd have had to be trailing your stop more like 62% behind price to not get stopped out. Why am I pointing that out? because it's the truth about trading, and I don't want to see you frustrate yourself unnecessarily. I don't want to see you anguish over why you couldn't take 19 points out of the trade. Because in order to take 19 points out of the trade, you would have had to trail your stop by greater than 62%. And quite frankly, most people just don't do that. Okay? Now, there is another way, and that's called multiple contracts, where you shed many of them up through here. Okay? And then at some point, you've got to stop way back here at break even plus a tick, and you've got a runner. Or if you're trading 100 contracts, your runner might be 20 contracts. See? In the S&P, you can do that because there is enough depth, liquidity, and participation. We also know that important prices, important areas are almost always tested. Here's the test, and then we run up a total of 21.75 points. Do I expect anyone to get all of that, or even that? Not at all. What I expect you to do is recognize where the trigger is, trail your stop at whatever level you're comfortable, and get stopped out with some profits. See, the market's about creating opportunity. It makes opportunity available. It puts points on the table. What you take out of that, that's entirely up to you. Price comes back to test again, puts in a swing high up at 29.25. So that's 9.25 points. That's almost a week's work. At 2 points a day times 5 days, that's 10 points. This candle ran 9.25. And this one here, this one has run 13. Okay? From 1920, the swing high was 1933. It ran 13 points. We won't see this forever. How long will it last? I don't know. We're coming into a presidential, year. So enjoy it while it's here. Okay? Don't let it hurt you. Use a hard stop, but enjoy it while it's here. I won't have time to get through all the rest of them, but I can tell you that the bonds did real good. Crude oil did real good. 20, 45, 82 ticks. That's $820. No, you can't get it all, but you can have some of it. You can trail your stop until it comes back and stops you out. Soybeans triggered at 870, got all the way down to a low of 865. The Dow, first hour, it went 90 points. Gold dropped $5. And the euro, I didn't have a chance to calculate it, but you can figure from 11,280 down to 11,224. It's probably enough times look how many times it triggered. You could probably get your 8 ticks out of there. That's all you need is 8 ticks times $12.50 per tick, and that gives you your $100 per contract per day. All right, and then on the Russell, triggering long side 1137, there's 40 ticks. First move, 40 ticks. Okay, no trigger on the short side. Okay, enough of that. Let's go to Vegas, talk to David, get those forecasts from the edge, see what else he might want to share with us today. Coming up at 1:30 will be my Wednesday co-host, Jim Whitebar Cox. So don't touch the radio dial. Don't go away, because we'll be right back.
You're listening to CFRN, a community of believers who trade for a living. To learn more about who we are, what we do, and how we do it, call toll-free 1-866-928-3310, and we'll send you out a no-obligation information kit absolutely free. 866-928-3310.
We don't need you now, be on your way. I thank the Lord for love like ours that grows ever stronger. And I always will be true. I know you feel that same way too.
Good morning, Dwayne.
David, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Well, thanks very much. Pleasure to be here, and pleasure to be watching these markets swinging around.
Swinging around. You know, presidential elections, they usually talk about mudslinging. You know, oh, there's a lot of
Yes.
mudslinging going on. I found
Sure
it
they do.
interesting that today they chose to talk about Donald Trump's germophobia, kind of the opposite of mudslinging, I guess. They titled it, they called the article "It's Getting Nasty," but he likes to wash his hands a lot. But he did, and he writes about it, The Art of the Comeback, his book, his popular book. When he came back.
Or the art of the deal, I think. Or is it the art of the comeback?
It's The Art of the Comeback, yeah.
Okay, got it.
And he, somebody else wrote The Art of the Deal. Maybe he wrote 2 books, I don't know.
I think he wrote the art of the deal.
Yeah,
I think that was
the quotation about the hand washing came from The Art of the Comeback.
Yeah. I have somebody
quoted right here.
Yeah, I've got someone who worked with me for a number of years who had this. This is an obsessive compulsive disorder. The idea that you have to, it's not that their hands aren't clean, it's that they have to make sure that they are clean. It's not that they're not clean. It's like people who have you ever known somebody who has some OCD where they lock their front door, as an example, to leave the house, and then they stay there and they check it, and they walk away, and then they'll come back and they'll check it again, and they'll do that over and over and over again, especially if it's a particularly bad case of it. They could be there for 20 minutes checking their front door. Now, they know their front door is locked. They just checked it. But their mind tells them that it throws up a whole bunch of doubt that, well, it was locked, but you could have been mistaken, or it might not still be locked, or you best check to make sure that it is locked, and they check it again. And then a minute later their mind comes up. And this can degenerate into complete immobility. The people can't live their life.
Yeah, it's almost like a record skipping. You know how you remember on an old 45 or 78, it would hit that spot and it would just keep, and you'd have to actually bump the record player a little bit with your elbow and make it, you know, and then all of a sudden it's back to playing the most beautiful music in the world.
Right. Yeah, I was on an airplane once and the pilot was saying, you know, you're in a brand new, you know, whatever it was, 737 or whatever, and, you know, it's got computer systems and everything's fine and nothing can go wrong. Go wrong. Go wrong. And I thought, that's not a good sign, honey. Right there.
That's funny.
But anyway, yeah, that OCD, I had somebody that worked with me for a number of years that had to get up and wash his hands exactly in the same way. And he just needed to do it. And, you know, if you don't take care of it, those problems actually get worse over time. And as people get older, it takes over. It takes over their lives. And to see somebody that really has a very bad case of OCD is a sad picture, because it's
Donald
just
says that he doesn't have that condition, but that he just enjoys having clean hands. And he does go on to say that if he's given the slot as the GOP candidate for the President of the United States of America, that he will make it a point to shake hands with everybody. That he's going to just get over it. That's what he said in the article with Time Magazine. He says, if I get the go ahead, I'm just going to shake hands with everybody. So that's a big step, you know.
Yeah.
Here's a man who's willing to take risks for this country. So hopefully that says something.
Yeah. We have a man in the White House now that is willing to take risks with this country as well.
Yeah, you ain't kidding.
Yeah.
Bill Gross thinks everything sucks. Global fiscal and monetary policy is not now constructive nor growth enhancing, nor is it likely to be. If that be the case, then equity market capital gains and future returns are likely to be limited, if not downward sloping. High-quality global bond markets offer little reward relative to durational risk. Private equity and hedge-related returns cannot long prosper if global growth remains anemic. Cash or better yet, near cash, such as 1 to 2 year corporate bonds, are my best idea of appropriate risk-reward investments. The reward is not much, but as Will Rogers once said during the Great Depression, I'm not so much concerned about the return on my money as I am the return of my money. So, problem, however, is that merely putting your money back, getting your money back with no interest, with no return, will not pay for retirement or college. And so, Gross continues, and then I'll stop. That is the near global conundrum we are faced with, as near 0% interest rates limit capital gains in the future, and if raised too high will lead to red zone losses. Not much else to say here. Finance-based capitalism, with its zero-bound interest rates, have now produced global imbalances that impair productive growth, and with it the chance for old normal prosperity.
Yeah. Listen, the whole world obviously is having problems. You know, it's bigger than just America here, but we have to brighten the corner where we are. We have to do what's right for America. We have to do what is going to help America. I have the distinct impression that we have a president that doesn't embrace American qualities. He merely tolerates them on the way to trying to take us to some, other vision that he and his administration has. This plan has not worked well, and I can say with pretty good confidence that someone else in the White House during this period, for whatever good you may want to believe that this administration has been able to do, someone else with more real-world experience, with more ability to interact with people and actually make deals and do the business of government and so on, which our president has none. That's why he uses executive orders, is because you don't have to interact with people. You just tell them, you just dictate how things are going to be. That if we had gotten somebody else in there, that we would be in a much better position as America financially than we are now. And that's what we're hoping for, to get through this, get through the next election and have somebody, whether they're Democrat or Republican, but somebody who has embraced the realities of America, the exceptionalism of America, and not turned it into a punitive America for those that are successful, as if they did that in order to, or by hurting other people, which is a very strong and powerful overtone of this administration, that something is wrong with success. And that comes from this larger view that everything should be the same, everything should be equal, and it's not true in nature, it's not true in any part of the known universe. Everyone rises to their own skill set. If everything is the same, and if everything's forced to be the same, then you don't have a Microsoft or an Apple or any of the achievements of any lesser, financial gains. There's many other kinds of gains that people could have. This whole sour grapes, I'll accept your success, but there's something wrong with it attitude that this administration has to be trashed and gotten rid of. America is here exactly because of the opposite of those types of attitudes, that the whole purpose of America was for people to be able to expand and go to the moon, not just physically to the moon, but to reach whatever heights they could personally reach, whether it's in business or art or raising a family or whatever it is. And there's just this bleak, sour grapes attitude about success and about prosperity that this administration has foisted upon the public, which I am very tired of seeing and hearing about. It's an undertone. It's a second level of communication. He's not going to come out and say, I'm tolerating America's greatness, but that's the second level communication that is buried in all of this stuff, and he's as much as admitted it himself on a number of occasions. So we need to, for America needs to get back to what originally made America great. The exceptionalism, the not apologizing to people who haven't achieved that, and trying to lower our hoops because it would hurt others' feelings or whatever the heck it is that he thinks that would, his ideas about what would make our enemies happy have not worked. His idea that he could somehow schmooze with them, and none of that has worked. In fact, things are worse than they were since he started schmoozing with these leaders. And he found out that his schmoozing doesn't really work that well. He can do it here in America, and he can do his soaring rhetoric. It doesn't go over with our enemies. They see through that, and it hasn't worked well for him. We're at the point now where he's practically, apparently, trying to make our enemies happy by giving them really great deals that allow them to do things that they shouldn't be allowed to do at the expense of who? America and other allies. So it's all backwards. It really is. And I can't wait for a new president, male or female, Democrat or Republican, who has some common sense and isn't blinded by their own echo chamber filled with ideology given to them by either their parents or wherever they picked it up. Because that's what we're dealing with here. And I'd like to see America happy about prosperity, happy that people have made it, happy that there's opportunities and not just entitlements, happy that they have an opportunity to go work their butt off and really make something of themselves instead of this sour grapes tone that has blanketed America like a black cloud. And we just have to be really kind of careful and kind of cautious about being too successful, because it's kind of not good anymore to do that. Give me a break. That's how America got to be exceptional. That's how we sent men to the moon. That's how we developed computers. That's how we developed art and jazz and everything else that you can think of that America is responsible for. It's an incredible country that's being dumbed down by an incredibly bad set of ideologies that we have in this administration. And I can't wait for the day that this administration scoots along and we have someone else in there. I just want to make sure that the someone else that is in there isn't just someone who this administration can still pull the strings on, even though it won't be this administration then, and still kind of continue the same old thing. That's why I really don't want Joe Biden to be president of the United States, and that's why Barack Obama is going to endorse him, is because that's how he continues his command and control over the United States of America. So if you want more of the same, take a look around you. That's what you're going to get with Joe Biden, because it's going to be Barack Obama pulling the strings. Thanks so much. That's my show. Good night.
Well said.
Yeah. Right off the top of my head, but I think everyone knows there's at least some truth in that. There's some truth in that. We want somebody independent, not in the whole political thing. There are some really good people on both sides that I think could do a great job that are in the political world, but I think the public is anxious to get rid of the smooth talking. We've had enough of it with bad results. I'd like some really bad talking with some great results. That's what I'd like. We're all looking for results. We're not looking for another soaring rhetoric speech that leads to nothing. We'd much rather have real results.
Karen says that the president is going on a reality show called Running Wild with Bear Grylls, where he goes into the wilderness, apparently attempts to highlight the effects of climate change. What the heck is he doing? Seems there are more important things for him to be doing. I think his ego wants to be stroked by doing this. Well, yeah, I mean, that's utterly ridiculous when today, this is going to go down as a historic day, I think, in history. Senator Barbara Mikulski, a Democrat from Maryland, today announced her support for the Iranian nuclear deal. Note, she's not running for re-election. This is it. This is her step down. This is what she'll be remembered for. And it brings the number of senators supporting the Iranian deal to 34. The key threshold to make sure it survives congressional opposition. Obama needed the pledges of at least 34 senators to stave off a potential veto override led by Republican members of the Senate. No deal is perfect, especially one negotiated with the Iranian regime, Mikulski said. I've concluded that this joint comprehensive plan of action is the best option available to block Iran from having a nuclear bomb. Really? She said that out loud. For these reasons, I'll vote in favor of this deal. How about taking the Play-Doh away from them? Maybe that's the best way. On yesterday, Tuesday, the administration secured the support of two other Democratic senators, Chris Coons and Bob Casey. So, right here, this may be the woman that destroys. I won't make any comments about her aesthetics at all. I'll just show you the picture and say this. Just remember this face, because she's not the only one, but she was the deciding vote right there. So God bless America, because we sure need it. Please. All right, let's dive into the markets here, guys. You got any questions for David? James would like to know if you could possibly. Yeah, Anna, it is a scary picture. And
it looks like somebody just burst out of a circus tent. That's what that picture reminded me of. I just have to say it. That the orange coat and the wild, everything. It looks like that's out of a circus. And some people could make the argument that that's exactly where she did burst out of, the circus of people that make up that party.
Yeah, and forgot to wipe off the makeup, Anna said. Yeah, there is a sort of the Joker look to all that. Let's see. James says, David, could you comment on the current bond market, please?
Well, the bond market is complicated, and you're going to hear that word from us anyway for a couple of markets today. But the bond market is what we call complex. And what that means for us is that in order to forecast on it, we have to do additional.
I'll be right back. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. We have to do some additional. We have to do additional work because of the complexity of. It's hard to describe this because you would have to understand the full method, but it's complicated, and so I'm not really in a position where I can say with great certainty anything about the bond market right now, and that's probably the best you'll get out of me until we get a little bit more clarity, on the position that the market's in. I can generalize. I don't like to, but I can tell you a few things that are certainly important about the bond market, which one of which is that on a longer-term weekly basis, there are some indications for lower prices coming from the bond market here into, I'm trying to find the chart right now, basically perhaps into next week or slightly beyond. That indication by itself is not fully vetted, and I would want to get some backup to that, off shorter-term charts. So it's complicated, and that's all I can really say right now. I don't have a really good answer for you. The S&P, let's also talk about that. There's some complexity in today's S&P as well. One of the things that we had given out this morning was for a decline as soon as the market would confirm below 1931, that the market would tend to move lower. That got people short. We took some off at 17, but we know that there is some complexity in today's session as well, where imagine two bands of energy, if you will, both able to do something to the market, and those bands of energy aligning up for one of them to do one thing and the other one to do the other thing right at the same point in time. And so you would have some apparent conflict there. And the market presents these conflicts, and those conflicts bring complexity to the ability to forecast, and the ability to forecast is what we do because we want to have the highest probability and so on. So today already we're seeing some of that action because we're in midday, and this band, if you will, these two bands that would be, a band is not a good word necessarily, but you know what I mean. It's like a field of energy. Think of it as that. They're both looking to try to get a certain thing done, and they're both coming in at the same point in time. And so that adds to complexity, because to solve that problem as to how the market's going to act in those areas is something that I'm not completely able to do yet. And we do run into this from time to time in the S&P, and it makes for very interesting trading sometimes. It can. So a couple things I think I could say in general, though, about the S&P today is that continued daily closes above $1,910, which perhaps may happen today. We're up at 1933 right now, is a stronger position and would put the market, and I can't give the full forecast out, but it put the market substantially higher into next week. We've given that forecast out, but at this point in time in today's session, we have one of those conflicts, if you will. It's really complexity more than a conflict, and so we're keeping an eye on the market here. And we warned everybody today early on that we saw that this was likely, and how the market, of course, handles these levels right up here is really important, and we'll take it from there. But I think for next week, which is a holiday week, where the market is closed on Monday, it's very likely we would have some very good movement there, especially, as I said, with continued daily closes above the 1910 level. So one final thing I might say is that if we're not able to close, really much above, say, 1935, 1936, if we can't close above there intraday, and we're right at there now, and we're very close to that level, that would be the weaker position. If we can close above those levels, it does start to solve the conflict a little bit for the market. So we're, again, it's complicated. I don't want to go into all the if-thens, but if you followed any of our work, you'll see that what we're doing is we're laying out what the most probable thing the market's going to do is, and that probability is arrived at by understanding the forces that move the market, technically speaking, understanding those forces as best as we can. And sometimes there's a conflict that appears because of the nature of how those play out over time. And I am not yet able to fully solve the conflict. Sometimes we can trade it to a certain extent, and we may today, but I'm not able to fully solve that on the once-in-a-while occasion that happens. But to understand the conflict, you just basically can say, here's a force that wants the market to do this, and here's a force that wants the market to do that, and they both land at the exact same point in time. And so I'm not able to solve that fully yet, and so we're being real cautious with the S&P here, especially what we told people, especially in midday. And here we are in midday, and they're running back up from the lows. So we'll see. But the bigger picture is more important, the 1910 and so on that we talked about earlier, closing above that.
Okay.
So I hope that's helpful.
All right. Let's take a look at the chat box and see what else we got in here. Okay. Have no direct questions for you, David. Guys, do you have any comments on the markets at all? Okay. Otherwise, we'll just move on. Any comments you want to make on the S&P?
You talking to me, or?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I just did. That was basically it. Just that we're in a very interesting scenario here right now.
I just popped the headset back on. Okay, so we've talked about the S&P, talked about bonds.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Want to talk about crude?
Yeah, the crude oil market. We had talked about crude oil earlier in the week on Monday, that there were some levels that the market was likely going to top out at. And now we have, I'm going to give the levels from the previous contract. So, because I think, have you rolled yet into?
October. Yeah, we rolled
to December. To December. You're still in October, right?
We're still in October. Yeah, we haven't rolled
that's
to
fair
December
enough. Anyway, the levels were that the market would reach
I'm
basically.
showing this hour's got 36,000 contracts. So when is the date to roll to December?
Well, I think December doesn't really go off, or October doesn't really go off for another couple of weeks anyway.
Okay. All right.
But pretty soon we're gonna want to roll. But anyway, they put in a daily top, and they got up to 48.83, which is a very critical number. They closed below that, and that got several of our people short for this very, very sizable, decently sized decline. You know, they went up to 49.33 and went down to a low of 43, about a 7-handle move there. So we certainly got a nice decline out of that, and I think for right now we don't have a new forecast for the crude oil market, but we're very close probably to having one. This takes us, any trade that we would take on this would take us into next week, which would start on Tuesday. So if we're going to do something, possibly we might have it's possible we might have a short position setting up for that, and I don't have all the details for it right now. So.
Okay. All right. 43.50. Straighten that out. All right. Let's see. Ed W wants to know if you have anything at all on the. Well, since you already talked about the S&P, yeah, Ed, I'll go to the euro here in just 1 second. There was a question. S&P was to decline into Thursday. Now, I don't know if that was that something that was supposed to happen or is going to happen? Are you there, Dave?
I'm sorry about that. My mic was off. I was saying that the S&P was forecast to go down into Thursday plus or minus a day and test $1,912. And today is 1 day early, and we went down to 1907.25. So we completed the 1912 that was due Thursday. It came 1 day early today. So that's
I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Today's Wednesday.
So 1 day early.
Yep, 1 day early for that.
Okay. All right. Ed's question on the euro was, do you have anything on the euro? That's pretty simple.
Well, nothing that's tradable just yet. There's several things. I'll put it to you this way. Most of the markets are in transition periods right now where we're getting set up for another move of some kind. So this includes gold, which has sold off some today, and we're preparing possibly for another long position in gold, depending on how they handle certain levels and so on, in the market. So we're watching it, and I'm interested, and we'll probably have something. And again, today is Wednesday. We still have 2 full sessions and today 2.5 full sessions left. But most of these markets right now, in terms of our work, are in transitory or transitional periods where we are getting new trade ideas set up for the next, set of conditions that we want to trade. And you can trade these markets at, as somebody had mentioned yesterday, at any level that you're accustomed to or that you prefer, whether it's short-term or long-term. We just prefer to try to get larger, more significant movement out of the market because it's doable. It's actually there, and it's obtainable, and it's tradable. So we want to continue to try to find those periods of time. And so we're in for many of the markets anyway, including soybeans, by the way. We had something that was really possible for soybeans here, but they're moving down today. I don't know where they are right now, but they were, I think if they're still below $8.75, that kind of takes some of the possibilities for soybeans away. We really had a nice, not fully vetted, but a pretty good start on a roadmap for soybeans, and the market has to do certain things in order to confirm that now. And today being below $8.75, it doesn't end it, but it puts a little pause in it. So if we're going to do a soybean trade, it might be into tomorrow, and that trade would take us into next week. In other words, it would be an overnight hold for that trade. But it's a pretty sizable move if the market firms up in soybeans. So we'll keep an eye on that. Any of you that are watching your own system and so on, if you see the signs, whatever they are for you, of firming the market up and so on, that makes a very interesting set of conditions for soybeans coming into next week.
Okay.
On the upside.
Okay, very good. Let's see. From Tim, volatility went to a whole new level in the S&P and seems to be here to stay for a while. Is that what is happening in oil? Okay, do you consider that to be the same?
Well, oil is a real volatile market, but for quite some time it was not volatile intraday so much, but it was very directional, in the big decline, and then we had this very big move up over the last several days. It really turned people's heads, and that move will produce some very tradable indications. In fact, we have one now that takes us into next week, and we're excited about that. That's very interesting. The volatility will probably be good into next week and possibly a little beyond in the crude oil market, and most of you know how crude is a very, very friendly and tradable market. It's really I sometimes, I can look at the markets and make each one of them a different kind of a dog, and the crude oil is a pretty friendly animal. It's a pretty nice animal if you follow markets. Like one of them that's a pretty mean-spirited dog right now would be like the British pound. Very spiky, very choppy, back and forth. It's really hard to stay on any position in that market because of how spiky it is. And so name your favorite dog, and then name your less favorite dog. And you can name the British pound after that. I know it's silly, but I self-medicate on the preposterous. So I sometimes take markets and I make them dogs. There you are. But in the meantime, crude is a very friendly and very tradable market, and we do have a trade that we're looking to set up that would ordinarily be on the short side, but into late this week or next week. So if we get a little rally out of crude, it's possible that we're going to set up a trade for that on the short side into early next week. So I hope that's useful.
Okay, Anna said, I thought crude was very dangerous to trade. Well, volatility well managed is a trader's best friend. But if you aren't sure how to manage volatility in a certain market, then absolutely it can be dangerous.
Well, any of these markets can be dangerous. But I wonder what she means by dangerous. Just that you could lose money, or that it doesn't do what you think it's going to do. I wonder what she would say to what does she mean by dangerous?
Well, I'll wait for you to answer that, Anna, but she had followed that up with crude is equal to which dog again?
I was going to probably put crude in a Labrador Retriever kind of market because it's a pretty easy market. Now again, remember, this is just for fun, but it's not a brutal market in the sense that it's really super tricky and really super spiky and all that stuff. It follows its pattern, or it kind of does the normal thing pretty routinely, even though it's in a bigger move. There are other markets that are much more difficult to maintain a position in. Even if you're right, the market goes to where you think it's going to go, it's really hard to stay in that market because they just are reaching, and British pound is one of those markets right now. Even though it's had a very good directional move down, recently the British pound has been very spiky and very tricky and very difficult for you to have a position in. So that would be soybeans is a friendly market as well. That's a good example of a market I think is pretty friendly. We don't have as many trades in it, even though it is friendly. There's conditions that have to set up, and soybeans has a unique thing about it that's different than corn and wheat in our methodology. So we cannot trade wheat and corn. Not that we are big wheat and corn traders, but if we were, soybeans is unique amongst them. It has something different about it that makes it operate differently than wheat and corn for us. But having said that, and that's why we have less trades in it, but when we do have trades in it, we have it's a very friendly market. It really runs very nicely to its numbers. And there's a number of markets. I've said this before. The S&P is a very tricky market. This is a beautiful market, but this S&P requires some real skill. And it's just, just to be blunt, I think many people are not at that level where the S&P can really be traded effectively. It's a very attractive market to trade because it's choppy and so on, but it's very sophisticated, the S&P. And so I would suggest that if you are going to trade it, that you're extra careful and extra understanding of the fact that it's a very sophisticated and conscious market. And when I say conscious, I mean it appears more so than other markets to know your position. It appears more so than other markets to want to, flush you out of that position before it does what you might have said you want it to do. It's got a lot of apparent consciousness to it, whereas other markets like gold and crude don't exhibit anywhere near the amount to us as the S&P does. The S&P is almost the king of the aware market, where it has a form of apparent consciousness about the positions. How many of you have traded the S&P and ever said to yourself, I only have a one lot on, why do they even have to come and get me? What does that mean to them? There's zillions of traders in this market. Why does it have to come out and get me? Or you may have said something like, I know how to tell you when the market's going to turn, I just buy it. And as soon as you buy the S&P, it turns and goes the other way, no matter where that is. It exhibits like a consciousness of your position. And it doesn't matter if your position's just a one lot. It seems to, these are very common themes that you hear over and over again from traders, specifically about the S&P. We can get in, or you and I can get in gold as an example, and if gold is getting ready to run, they don't need to necessarily completely flush us out. They start the run, and it's easy peasy. And, you get 8, 10, 15 points in gold. Something like that usually doesn't happen in the S&P. The S&P goes to extra lengths to flush people out before that run is there and to demoralize and so on. So it's a tricky market. It's a conscious market, and I would probably list it as, in my book, the most conscious market, apparently conscious market of your position. And I think many people would probably agree if they've traded the S&P for any period of time, as opposed to other markets that they've traded for any period of time. So I don't think it's a newbie's market, but everyone has to learn in some market. And if you start with a really hard one, you might find later how valuable it is to know some of the other ones that aren't so difficult to trade in, that they don't really care about your one lot. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's what we found with it. And it's a beautiful market. S&P is astonishingly good at running to its numbers and completing forecasts and so on. But boy, it does go to work on trying to make sure that you're not in it when it runs. That's what it does. And this is across all time frames. You can go down to the tick level chart, and you'll see that same intelligence at work on a tick chart as you do on a 15-minute or 60-minute or daily or weekly chart. It's just the nature of that market. Yeah.
Okay. I have got to... Are they really concerned about us little people, or are they playing against each other, Anna? Yeah, good question, Anna.
I don't know. It just appears that they're concerned about the little people. Little people come to me and say, they keep coming after me. And I don't consider myself a big people, but I'm just halfway joking. But I've been around that market since 1990, and it's a real interesting and fascinating, very forecastable market. But for practical trading purposes, it's a tricky market. It certainly is.
Huh. All right. Yeah, okay, if that's it for questions, guys, we got Jim coming up here. David, any final comments? I'm scanning to see if there was any additional questions here for you. Let's see. Richard says, David said 1907 was a target for the low on Wednesday, which yesterday, but low was 1898.75. Any significance in that number was quite a bit lower than the 1907.
Well, 1907 down to 1898 is about 9 points or something. In this market, it's not too terrible. And you'll notice that the lowest hourly close yesterday was 1910.75. So they went down and completed other numbers that were important to the market, the market internalizes the numbers that it needs. It's internal to the market what numbers the market needs to touch. And although we may forecast one, there may be also other levels that have to be completed in that same period of time that we have not identified. So that's probably the way that I would interpret that. So other than that, it's really interesting. Whether we trade this or not today anymore or whatever, I think there's some really interesting stuff in the markets. As we said, coming into midday, which we just did, and then coming out of midday into the close today. It's just interesting. I'm very curious to see how they handle this. But the bigger picture aside from that is still that 1910 level. If we do close above 1910, that's an idealized level, like a best level. If we close above that today and tomorrow, we can still deal with it. If they close below that, there still is quite possibly a very important move on the upside into next week because we can identify that force. But we need to see the market. The force is theoretical. So we need to see the market, which is something that's actual, begin to reflect the early stages of that force. And that's part of the whole methodology, is to identify how that force starts to appear in the market. So you can say, hey, we have evidence that the theoretical is actually going to turn into the actual, and we're going to get this move. And so that's what we're waiting on here with regard to the bigger move up into next week.
Gotcha.
So there you are. If you have somebody else, Dwayne, if Jonathan's coming on, I'll be very happy.
No, Jim. Jim's coming
I'm sorry.
on. In fact, let me take a look in here. I haven't seen him. There he is. Hey, Jim, I want to open up your mic. Hey, welcome to the show, Jim.
Hello, my friend. How are you today?
Good, buddy. What's going on in your world?
Good morning, Jim.
Oh. Hey, David. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I am doing well. Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
David, if you want to hang about for a bit, you're more than welcome. We're going to... Your chart's working today, Jim?
Yes, they are.
Okay. So, did you have any topics you wanted to jump on? I was looking through these headlines earlier to see if there was anything that was of... We already talked about the Iranian deal. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, how about this? These police officers being killed in the line of duty.
Now, are you talking about is this something new that's just happened today, or
there's been a whole bunch of them.
No, there's been a whole bunch of them this year alone. There's been 27 police officers killed in the line of duty with gunfire, with assault. 24 were killed with weapons. 3 were assaulted. There's been 85 police officers died in the line of duty this year. Some are accident related and health related, but there are 27 that were murdered in the performance of their duties.
Yeah, I just want to throw something in on that if I can. I've noticed that there's you don't hear much about what the person who is unfortunately now dead. I'm talking about, let's say the policeman is living and he had to use his gun on someone, and we don't hear a lot about what that person was doing at the time in order to have the policeman have to pull his gun out. But we hear an awful lot about the fact that the policeman pulled a gun out, and in many cases the policeman's pulling a gun out, and there, of course, there's always going to be those cases where the policeman acts incorrectly and so on, but in many of these cases the policeman has every right to feel that his life is being threatened, or someone's going for his gun, someone's running at him with a knife, or whatever it is. We don't hear that. And it would be wonderful if policemen could really use non-lethal methods to get people to stop doing what they're doing. But a lot of people don't respect the police, and policemen are out there to protect everyone. And if you don't respect them, what happens is that they're going to take and interpret everything that you do in its worst possible light. If you show them some respect, they will tend to not interpret everything you're doing in the worst possible light. Try not going for policemen's guns. I mean, just as a basic starting point, don't reach for an officer's gun at any point in time in your interaction with him, and the chances of you living a good life will increase dramatically. Try not running from policemen when they tell you to stop. That would be helpful. There was a whole comedy thing done on this because of these things, but it is really unfortunate that people have to die, and no one wants people to have to die, and it would be nice if there was a non-lethal way for policemen to protect themselves better against what they perceive as threats.
What is the story on that, Jim, as far as non-lethal? Is that, I know they have rubber bullets, and they've got pepper spray, and they've got what do you call it, the stun gun kind of things, but how realistic is that, and can you use that in close quarter fighting and that sort of thing?
Well, let's go back a little bit. In the police academy, police officers are trained when to use the weapon and when not to. There's a thing called the use of force continuum, and the use of force continuum dictates the level of force necessary to effect an arrest. So, the first step of the thing is talking to the person. If the person is compliant, they're willing to turn around, put their hands behind their back, and get handcuffed, that's your first step. Mm-hmm. But as the level of the threat increases, so does the officer's response to that. The officer will always take it to the next step. If the person is combative, they may get maced. If it becomes worse, they may get tased. If the person has a weapon, is trying to injure the police officer or someone else, the police officer draws his weapon. In my 18 years in law enforcement, I drew my weapon several times. I only had to fire it twice. So the chances of an incident resulting in a police shooting are pretty slim. Unfortunately, in today's society, with the media and cameras and cell phones and everything else, they've got a few instances where officers did wrong. And in any profession, you're going to have some bad apples, but the majority of police officers are out there putting their life on the line to protect people. But unfortunately, the media and some bad apples have really taken this to the next level, to where the police officers don't automatically get the level of respect that they need in order to adequately do their job. So in previous years, when you could talk to a suspect or a perpetrator and let them know that they're going to jail, then they can go either hard or they can go easy. Most of them went easy. Well, now, since there is no respect for law enforcement, or the respect has greatly decreased, it seems like the police officers are putting their hands on people more often than they used to, and the level of threat against the officer is increased exponentially.
Bart, who's involved in law enforcement, says, comment here, officer has a split second to make a decision, but all others have years to second guess the officer.
Absolutely. Yeah, in law enforcement, unfortunately, and when you go through the academy and you get your initial training, police officers are trained on a monthly basis. They have refresher training on the use of their weapon and when to shoot, not to shoot. And you hear a lot of people on the media say, "Well, why didn't the police officer shoot him in the leg?" Or "Why did he shoot? Why did he have to shoot him in the chest?" Police officers aren't trained to injure people. They're not trained to I guess, prevent a person from running away. We're trained to shoot center mass. If our weapon is out, the situation dictates that person is doing something that's life-threatening to either the officer or someone else, and that officer is trained to terminate that person, shooting center mass. We're not trained to shoot in a hand or an arm or a leg. We're shooting center mass, the 10 ring as they call it, which is the heart and the vital organs. So unfortunately, when the gun comes out, the police officer is not trying to wound this person. He's trying to stop whatever this person is doing by ending that person's life.
When I watch this TV show Cops, it's, when an officer arrives on the scene, whatever it is, this thing has usually been brewing now for some time, and, there's so much tension in the air, and the person often is under the influence of something, and the officer, of course, has no idea what that something is. Maybe the guy had a little too much to drink, and in that case, it's probably not that big a deal, and they could be, hopped up on some of the more serious things that make people get naked. There's that new stuff, Flocka. It overheats the body temperature, makes you want to get naked and run through the streets. There's just some weird stuff out there that's being cooked up in laboratories, so you never know what you're going to face. But on this TV show Cops, which I watched it years ago, but then it's just a repeat of the same thing over and over. So they pull up, and they attempt to get things under control, and then there's the argumentative thing. Yeah, you want to argue. The whole arguing thing sets in, and that's so unnerving. And I have to admit, I have so much respect for these officers. Well, yes, I understand that they're on camera, and so they kind of got to behave if they're on the TV show Cops. But in everyday situations, they got to pull up to a scene where all of a sudden the name calling starts, and it's like, hey, look, why don't you just calm down, put your hands behind your back, let me put the cuffs on, sit you in the car, we'll talk about it, maybe we go downtown, maybe you got to spend the night, but it doesn't have to end this way. But again, when emotions are high, and I've heard it said on TV, so I don't know how true it is, but I've heard it said on TV that the most dangerous call that a police officer can go out on is domestic violence. Would you agree with that or disagree?
No, I would agree. That's as far as a call for service, that's probably the most dangerous. I actually have a scar between my eyes from a domestic violence call that went south really quick as well.
I'm guessing the scar came from him. Was that?
Well, yeah, it was, and I'll give you the story. It was a situation, and it was an apartment complex, and the family that lived there, the mother wanted the daughter put out. She was 18 years old, wouldn't live by mom's rules, wouldn't adhere to the house rules and whatnot, what mom wanted to do, and she didn't want her daughter there any longer. So when I got there, I explained to the daughter, you're 18, your mom doesn't want you here, you don't have a legal right to be here. I'll stay if you want to pack a bag, and then I can take you to a bus station or to a friend's or neighbor's house, but you have to go. And she says, no, I'm not going. I'm like, well, you don't understand. You don't have an option here. If she doesn't want you here and you're refusing to go, I'm going to have to arrest you for trespassing. I'm willing to take you somewhere, but you have to go. Well, with that, she started screaming at me and telling me she wasn't going to go, and she tried to hit me. I then told her she was under arrest for trespassing and assault on a police officer. As I started to put the handcuffs on her, her brother came running down the steps and assumed that this police officer was doing something to his sister that he didn't like, and he came at me with a statue and tried to swing it at me. I had my walkie-talkie in my hand at the time. He knocked my walkie-talkie out of my hand. I couldn't call for backup, so the fight was on. Fortunately, the sister didn't join in, but this was a big guy, and we struggled back and forth. I didn't draw my weapon out, but as we hit the front door, we fell up against the front door. The door frame splintered, and the door fell out onto the front porch. Wow. And a piece of the door stabbed me between my eyes. As the door splintered, we went to the ground. As we fell to the ground, I was able to get behind him and put him in an arm bar, and did get the handcuffs on, and he was arrested, and she was arrested. But that's just an example of a domestic thing, a family situation that went south really quick. And
you showed up alone. You had no one there with you, no backup.
No, I didn't have backup. Now backup arrived, but they arrived as I'm putting the one guy into my police cruiser, and blood's running down my face. I didn't know what happened, but
gotcha.
Unfortunately, those situations escalate quickly, and by the time backup gets there, chances are the situation is done. In that case, it was.
And I bet the two at this point don't even remember what they originally started arguing about.
Probably not, to be honest with you.
I mean, I've been married 30-something years, so I've had my share of arguments with my wife. But sometimes, I remember back years ago, we've kind of matured and with age and gotten a little, wiser, and we aren't crazy young kids anymore. But I remember way back, I mean, we would have these incredibly, we would just be like screaming at each other, and then one of us would go, what is it we're fighting about? Because the thing had carried on for so. It was like, I don't know. I think you said something about, I'm not sure. And so it just
no situations. I mean, an argument is an argument, but when it turns violent, that's when the police usually
gets crossed. That's right. Yeah. That's when the line is crossed. When you put your hands on somebody, that's a real issue. So,
right.
So you brought this up. You brought up this topic about violence on police officers. I mean, what are your thoughts? Being from that side of the table, from the law enforcement side for so many years, I mean, do you see this as Do you see this as something that's randomly happening? Because there's a conspiracy out there that it's being stirred up, that it's somebody stirring the pot to create some situations. I mean, the conspiracy theory leads all the way to the Jade Helm thing, and that we're going to find ourselves with martial law on our hands before long. I mean, do you believe any of that, or why do you think that this is happening?
Well, there are groups out there, and I don't know how much news you've watched in the last few days, but there's a particular group, the Black Lives Matter group, that started their campaign here in St. Louis and Ferguson with the Michael Brown incident, where the criminal was shot trying to take the police officer's weapon. And in Black Lives Matter, there was a protest in Minneapolis, St. Paul over the weekend where they were walking through the streets chanting, "Pigs in a blanket, fry 'em like bacon," referring to police officers.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
That's the same phrase that other African American used that gunned down those 2 police officers in New York. So I believe that groups like that, promoting hatred against police officers and law enforcement, are fueling a lot of these other groups and these other criminals. I think they're feeling a sense of entitlement or empowerment, that they can do things and get away with it because there's a growing group of people that hate the police, and they want to see the police officers killed. We had the officer that was killed 2 days ago in Illinois by the 2 white men and the black man. That they don't really know what the whole situation is. The officer was called for some type of suspicious person call, got into a foot pursuit with these 3 people, and they turned on him and they gunned him down. They then took his equipment, they took his radio, they took his weapon, and left him dead on the ground. So the violence against police officers is increasing, and I think it's being
and there was a deputy in Texas here just a couple days ago too, right?
He was
putting gas in his car. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Guy walked up behind him, shot him once in the head. As the police officer fell to the ground, he unloaded 15 more rounds into the back of the police officer. So I mean, that was his whole intention, was to kill this police officer. So you have all this racial rhetoric that's going on. The blacks are upset, thinking that police officers are killing young black men, and the statistics don't show that. And if you look at the statistics, there's more black on black crime than anything else in this.
Young black men kill young black men. I mean, statistically, that's what happens. It's a tragedy, but those are the statistics. I mean,
that's true.
David, are you still with us, or did you have to go? You still here? Yeah,
I think we lost him.
He usually has to slip off. So, okay, all right.
There's a website out there. It's odmp.org. It's Officer Down Memorial Page, and it lists all the officers killed in the line of duty each year. Like I say, this year I think we're at 88 officers killed in the line of duty, and it shows the ones that have been killed by a weapon or by assault, or what the cause of death is. And unfortunately, that list seems to get bigger and bigger every year.
ODMP. Yep, Officer Down Memorial Page right there.
That's the one. Martin Luther King, he made a quote years ago, and he said, "He who passively accepts evil is as much involved in it as he who helps to perpetrate it. He who accepts evil without protesting against it is really cooperating with it." So these groups that are promoting hatred against police, talking about pigs in a blanket, fry them up like bacon, and nobody's standing up and saying how wrong that is, which to me is unbelievable. When Ferguson happened and Michael Brown was killed trying to take the police officer's weapon, his father got on the media and started hollering, "Burn it down, burn it down," and that's when they started destroying Ferguson and burning the businesses down. So whether the people want to admit it or not, these hatred slogans and statements against police and toward police are fueling people to perpetrate crimes against police officers. And I don't know what the resolution is. If you're convicted of killing a police officer, I think you should have no option for parole. Whatever your sentence is, you have to live out that sentence. But unfortunately, our Justice Department, criminal justice system doesn't agree with that. Hey, who's that good-looking guy?
Got your picture up and your bio. Sure enough,
there it is.
Got it done finally last night. Yeah, so thanks for sending that over. So, guys, this is who you're talking to. Jim Whitebar Cox, solving the consistent profitability mystery, and developer of the infamous white bar trade. So, tell us what's been going on with you and the markets since we last spoke.
The markets have been kind of crazy, as we all know, for the last few days. It closed down, I think it was 400 points down again yesterday. But the volatility that is associated with that is making trading fun, fast. The last few, I guess since last week, I haven't been able to trade the Russell. It's been moving too quickly. I tried to get a few Russell trades in today. I just couldn't get my entries and exits in the right spot.
It just jerks all around. I mean, there could be a spread between the bid and the ask, which is not normal for the Russell.
Yeah. Right.
But the back and forth, I mean, you literally, if you're going to trade the Russell, you have to take some bigger picture position and with a large stop, and then you have to wait it out. You're not going to duck and weave and get your points for the day the way we so comfortably do every day in the live trading room, and with our methodology. It won't work. The market conditions don't permit it. So
that is correct. So basically, what I've done is I'm trading the euro. I'm trading crude, and I've been working on the bond market a little bit. I made some ticks in the bond market yesterday. I had one trade on the bond market today. If you want to send me the charts, I can put some charts up and go through some trades if you'd like to.
Yeah, let's do that. I'll send it over to you right now. There you go. It's coming at you.
On there?
Yeah, you should have a pop-up now that says accept, and then you tell it, okay, now I got you. I can see one chart now, one tall skinny chart. Now I got a big wide chart. Okay.
There you go. This is the bond market, and opened at 8:30 this morning. So unfortunately, for whatever reason, didn't generate a lot of white bars, but I did get one white bar trade. This was at 8:42 this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Bar closed down. I went short on it. Trailed my stop at the close of each bar. This one came back and took me out with an 8-tick profit. Had I stayed back a little bit further, I could have picked up 5, 9, maybe 10 more ticks on that trade.
And those ticks are worth $31.25 per tick.
Correct, $31.25.
$31.25 per tick, guys. So you really, if you're trading the blueprint, you need 4 to be done for the day. 4 ticks in bonds will give you $125 per contract, but this was a nice 8-tick trade here. So
nice 8-tick trade, and as we've discussed, I am trading 7 contracts. However, with this being $31 a tick, I only traded 3 contracts on this. Wish I'd have done the 7, but I did 3 contracts for an 8-tick gain on that. And that was my only trade on the bond market. Bond, like I say, bond moves a lot slower. You can see that no other white bars throughout the rest of the day. So let's get rid of that one, and let's bring the crude oil over. And then this is where I did all the rest of my trades today. Let's get back to
Crude, okay.
Okay, let's see. 8:30, not quite there. Now I went too far. 8:30. Okay, here's where the market opened. Over here at 8:30. First white bar, this was at 8:39, closed up. I went long, and again, by following, and as each bar closes, I put my stop at the end of that bar. So by moving my stop here, I was able to get 5 ticks of profit. Again, it ran a lot more, but I'm pretty aggressive with moving my stop once price starts to move. So this one actually offered up 5, 9, 12, 14, 15. This one offered up 20 ticks. I got 5 of it. And like Dwayne says, you're never going to get in at the very bottom and get out at the very top. So I guess you have to just be comfortable with what you're getting. But as each bar closed, this bar closed, I went to move my stop here. As this bar closed, I moved my stop to here. So you can see 5-tick profit on that one. Next bar was an up close. I had 4 ticks of profit. I went to break even. It took me out at break even. I would have gotten a few more ticks out of it, but by going to break even, it was break even at 4 ticks profit. It's a break even trade. The next white bar was at 8:45. Bar following the white bar closed down. Went to break even. Moved up to lock in 4 ticks. It came back and took me out with 4 ticks. It offered up 9, but I got 4 of it. So we're up 9 ticks on the day at this point. I missed this one. We don't have another white one. I missed this one. If I put a circle around it, it means I missed it. I missed that one. The next one closed down. Gave me 6 ticks of drawback. Then I got 4 ticks of profit. I went to break even. As I started to move it to lock in more, I got 1 tick of profit on that one. So now I'm up 10 ticks on the day. Next white bar comes in at 9:07. Closes up. 7 ticks out of that one. That one offered up 11. I got 7 of them. So now I'm up 17 ticks on the day. And now what I'm doing at this point is I'll put my stop loss at 7 ticks as opposed to 8, making sure that I at least lock those 10 in that I have originally locked in. So at this point I'm up 17 ticks. I missed this trade. Oh, I didn't do this with the doji trades. I didn't do that one. Next white bar closes up. 4 ticks. Lock in here, so I get 4 ticks of profit on this one. So now I'm up 21 ticks on the day. I missed this one, probably the best one of the day. I missed this one on the way down.
Isn't it funny how that happens?
Yeah, exactly. And that one would have been 32 down to 96. So that's about, what is that? That's 50 plus tick move. Okay. Next white bar.
And what was it in particular? Were you looking at another chart, taking a break? Would you say you missed that one?
Well, probably looking at another chart, or it might have been moving quickly. This white bar was at 9:16:41, 42. So the bar closed with less than a second from the white bar, so I probably just couldn't get into it quick enough.
Gotcha.
Okay, and then this white bar here, we're up to 9:26. And this one I took it. I would not normally have taken a trade this close to the inventories. I guess I wasn't paying attention to the time, but it closed up. Got 4 ticks of profit out of it. So what we have, 21 ticks. So now I'm up 25 ticks. Is that right? Yeah, I think so. 25 ticks. Now this orange line here, this is the 9:30 inventory trades. So now I won't trade anymore during the next 15 minutes until the market decides to settle down and get back to normal trading. So let's get to...
and there's some that would say that crude has been anything but normal of late, but you've been able to tame it enough to trade it, more so than the Russell. I mean, we've had multiple days. 2 days ago, I think it was, crude. We had a $1,000 move per contract on the downside based on the Concierge Trade Alert entry, and then it flipped around and triggered on the long side of the Concierge Trade Alert, and it ran for $3,000 per contract.
Those are the kinds that you want to be in with 10 contracts on.
Oh man, tell me about it. Yeah,
that's a year maker for you. Okay, so next orange line, this is 9:45. So now we're out of the time when I won't trade. Inventory trades have settled down.
So do you really just cut it off 15 minutes?
Yeah,
is that a hard and fast thing? Okay.
Yeah, for the most part. Now, there's been times where I may go 13 or 14 minutes, but I'll never go less than 10. Okay. So, but I like that 15-minute number for whatever reason.
Yeah, I mean that's usually any economic report, whether it's the Fed or oil inventories, or even if it's a major economic news report of some other kind, what they call a high-impact economic report that comes out at 10 a.m. I'll often give that even 15 minutes. And when it comes to the Fed and when it comes to the crude, I won't even think about it less than 15 minutes. And right. I'm okay waiting. I'm okay waiting 30 minutes. In that interview that I did with Dan a couple days ago, and I'd really like to get you guys together. I think it's time for you guys to have a conversation. He had his first live day today. We've been chronicling his journey up through putting together his 10 consecutive days, and we just had a really great conversation the other day, and I flipped record about, I don't know, 10-20 minutes into the conversation. I realized it was just the things we were discussing, and he was explaining the struggles that he had gone through and what it had taken him. When we had the conversation 2 days ago, he was on his 9th day. He was coming up on his 10th day, which was yesterday, and then today was his live day, and then this afternoon we're scheduled to pick up that conversation again. And he has created some really nice alerts, and in the next video, if we aren't able to do it today and we end up doing it tomorrow, either way, he has learned to take DT Pro and create some alerts for himself, such as it will say soybeans are trending higher. And instead of just a ding or something, he's teaching everyone through the tutorials how to actually put those, using your own voice. You can record it to say, whatever you want to say, soybeans trending higher, gold trending lower, number of different things that he's figured out how to do, along with the application that he created, the daily performance tracker. It even shows where you stack up against the 2420 blueprint graphically at any given time, because the blueprint assumes it's going to take you 10 trades every day to make your daily goal, when in fact some days it takes 1 trade and some days it takes more than 10. However, that's what the rollover trades are about, and the application tracks the number of rollover trades, it tracks the percentage carryover, and he said for him it's been an incredible accountability partner, and it has, more than anything, he says it's kept him honest. And we talked about that, because in the process I'm forever having conversations with people who tell me about, man, I was killing it in the sim, and then I went live, and then so we start digging, and we talk, and turns out they weren't really killing it in sim, because they weren't really being honest with themselves. When they would make a mistake, well, that didn't count because it was a mistake. Well, in the real world, mistakes cost money, do they not?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so,
that's true.
If a person is going to get honest with themselves, then, putting together those 10 days, nobody gets lucky 10 days in a row. It just doesn't happen. The chances of you, there's a greater chance that you'll win the lottery and get struck by lightning while winning the lottery than putting together 10 consecutive profitable days in the simulator by sheer luck. It's not going to happen. You can have a lucky day, you can have a couple lucky days. In some bizarro world, you might have a lucky week. But if you do the 10 days honestly, the way Dan did it, and the way he graphed it and charted it, he knows every trade he took during the 10 days leading up to that. It's all documented. It's all honest. And so when I had the conversation with him the other day, I said, do you feel, are you nervous, worried, concerned? How are you right now? And he said, I'm calm. And the reason being is because he knows that over a period of time, and he didn't make it on his first run. The first time he set out to put together 10 days, it didn't happen. And he's chronicled that. And each time that there was a rough spot was usually when he and I would end up having a mentoring session. And so it got to the point where he has now put his, and today was his first day live, and he and I will be talking about that on the video, whether we do it this afternoon or tomorrow. We'll talk about what happened today, the results of that. But it was him being honest with himself every day. And this is someone who has to get up early to do their trading before they go to work at the day job. That in and of itself takes a tremendous amount of discipline.
Yes.
And he said, Dwayne, he goes, the the analysis and all the other stuff, he goes, I understand now that that's such a small part of the equation that it's an emotional kind of a thing. And when Mark Douglas was on the show a couple Fridays ago, he, in a question that someone asked, it brought out of him that analysis is, we try to make that the biggest part, the biggest slice of the pie. Oh, because if we can just do the proper analysis, then we'll make the right move that always ends up in a positive gain on the trade. And to hear someone say that the analysis is actually the smallest part of the equation, gee, that's almost offensive, because I've spent so many years and so much money and so much time and so much energy trying to get the perfect entry. There is no perfect entry. You get in the market and you manage the trade. If it goes against you, you take your stop. If it runs, you trail. I mean, that goes against the grain. I mean, it's not, certainly you wouldn't fly an airplane that way. You wouldn't do brain surgery that way. But those are very unforgiving professions. You wouldn't engineer the building you wouldn't engineer the blueprints for a building in such a manner where being right 7 times out of 10 means you're at the pinnacle of your profession. Being right 7 times out of 10. I don't know of any other, except maybe baseball. I mean, if you can hit the ball 4 times out of 10 when you step up to bat, you get put in the Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah, you're a stud if you're doing that.
So remember, guys, you're more, if you want to be a trader, you're more like a batter in baseball than you are an airline pilot or an engineer. Okay, so take it from there. All right.
I emailed Dan yesterday just to give him some words of encouragement for going live today, and he responded back. He did do 10 trades today, and he made his goal, so his first day was positive. He said he made a couple of judgment errors, but he thinks it was due to the excitement, but he's hoping that tomorrow's a better day for him.
Well, guys, I guess you won't have to wait for the video after all.
Oh, I didn't mean to burst your bubble. I was just sorry
That's
about
all right.
that.
No. I almost said it earlier, and then at one point I thought, well, you already said it, so you can talk about it. And then I thought, no, wait, you said it in the live trading room, and so I was at a point where I couldn't remember if I had said it or hadn't said it. So yeah, that's the good news, guys. After carefully chronicling his journey, his first day out, he did it. He made some mistakes, and we're going to talk about all of that on the video, and you guys will get to see what the real deal looks like. Okay, not the stuff of books and magazines and movies and this world of fantasy that many traders insist upon living in. You stepped out and you embraced the real world. We have tons of traders that have stepped out and embraced the real world. Not everybody is willing to be on the radio. Many people don't like the limelight. Many people don't want their name in the headlines. In fact, they're almost superstitious about that. How does it go? If you're on the cover of Sports Illustrated, your career's over. Isn't that how that saying goes?
I think it is.
Yeah. And I mean, that's just been proven so many times over that a lot of people they're like that. No, don't say anything to anybody. Let me just keep doing what I'm doing. I don't need any notoriety. I don't need my name passed around. No, I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't even want to do an interview, man. I just want to keep getting up every day and making my $100. No matter how many contracts I'm at, I want to just get up, make my $100, and be done. And so, you, again, are, a unique individual in how you came to this business and, the different things you went through to get to us. I mean, it's a miracle you made it to us because you talked about this the last time, 3 different things.
Yeah.
So now this trade that you have up on the screen here,
Okay.
is this where you left off, right?
This is where we left off. So I'm up 24 ticks at this point. Up close on this bar. I get 2 ticks locked in. It comes back and takes me out. So I'm at 26 now. Next one is an up close. Again, I move my stop and it takes me out for 3 more ticks. So that puts me at 29. Next one doesn't work out so well for me. Down close here, I went short. Came back and took me out for an 8-tick stop out.
8 tick, that's a full stop there. Okay.
Full stop there. So now I'm down to 21 ticks. And then I think the next one was also smacked me around a little bit. Let's see. There it is. And then my last trade here, up close, gave 2 ticks of profit, and then came back and took me out for another 8-tick stop out. So my 21 turned into 13 at that point. So I'm up 13 ticks, and by my own rules, I'm going to go ahead and call it a day at that point. I've got my 10 ticks from the market. The 3 extra ticks paid for my commissions and gave me a little bit more profit, so I was done trading at 10 o'clock this morning with 13 ticks on the crude market and 8 ticks on the bond market. So that's it.
Any angst over what you gave back?
Yeah, I wish I wouldn't have given it back, but unfortunately that's the nature of the beast. When you're trying to take the white bar trades and you get the trades that present themselves, you take them. That's because over the law of averages, you have to keep executing your advantage. If I'd stopped earlier, I would have made more. But there are many days that by continuing trading, I was able to bank quite a bit more. So when I got back near that 10 tick mark that I've put for myself, then I stopped for the day. So. So that was my trading day, and last week was a pretty decent week. The market was volatile and it moved a lot. And people, when they find out that you trade, they're like, "Well, isn't the market tanking? Isn't it kicking your butt?" And I try to explain to them, it's like, I don't care if the market's going up or down as long as it's moving. The movements are where we can make our money. So, and people just don't seem to understand that. So, any questions about the white bar trades? Anything else I can add?
Let me see what we got here in the chat box. Yeah, Dan was wondering what kind of risk you use with the bonds.
Let me bring the bond market back up. I'm still doing the same thing. I don't change my risk at all.
So you do use even at 31.25 a tick, you use 8.
I do because I don't really look at it as money anymore. I look at it as ticks.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of like if you're at the casino and you're gambling, you can't look at the chips as money. They're just chips. Let's see if I can get this to work out here. Did that work? There it is. So like on this trade here, when I got into the trade, I entered. Where's my notes at? Did I enter on this one? I entered at 54.14. I'm sorry, 15. 54.15. So my stop would have automatically gone in 8 ticks away or 54.22. So that's where my stop is at that point. Once I get the 4 ticks of profit, I move the stop up to break even, and as the bars start to close, I follow it. So this one was able, like I say, to give me 8 ticks of profit on it. But I would never put any greater than the 8-tick stop out. Now, had a white bar closed against me anywhere in this area, I would have dumped the trade at that point. As we've discussed before, if I'm going short and a white bar presents itself and closes up, I dump it on that up close. So I limit my risk.
So of those 13 ticks that you had, then actually 8 of those ticks were of the 31.25 per tick variety.
Correct. Well, but that was only 3. That's 3 contracts.
Oh, that's right. You did say you downsized it to 3 on that. Yeah, well, that's still not bad.
No.
I mean, that not bad. It's real good. So, all right, guys. Anybody have any other questions for Jim? There was a comment earlier by Reg that I missed, talking about the domestic violence issue. I just want to comment on that because I think Reg, because I have a teenager in my home, and he's getting as tall as I am, and so he's feeling his oats a little bit. But he's But he's a great kid. I can't say that enough. Reg's comment was, personally, I think that this uptrend in violence starts in the home, not the domestic kind. but the respect or lack thereof that starts when kids are very young. Throw in single parents and some economic factors, and you have a perfect storm. And of course, the caveat is that's not just single parents. So
right. I would agree with that. I think that there is a breakdown in family values that we don't see anymore. I think the single parents are even more difficult because you don't have two voicing the same rules and the same philosophy of like mind type thing. So I would agree with that statement that the breakdown in the family as well as the family values has increased the violence toward police because it's a whole mindset.
Yeah, I mean, there's things today. My son has to go to school, and he's in public school, and we keep thinking that we're going to take him out and put him in private school, put him in Christian school. But I was talking to my niece on my wife's side. My wife has a huge family. There was 9 kids in the family, and her kids were going to a Christian school, and her kids were coming home telling her horrific tales of what was being said on the playground, etc., that were, every bit as bad as what my kids were bringing home from the public school. And what I like about having my kids in this particular public school is that it's 2 blocks from the house. I mean, they can walk to school, they can walk home, and if there's ever a problem, I can be there, in 5 minutes or less. I mean, it's just, across the park, literally. So, but, my son comes home and, the kids have been talking about all kinds of things on the playground, in the classroom. So many of these kids, their parents allow them to bring my son's in the 7th grade. Let's see. I guess he's in the 8th grade now. God, they grow up so fast. I mean, he just had his 13th birthday, because he's officially a teenager now. But so many of his friends, their parents allow them to bring their cell phones to school. And I would think that they would make them turn them in at the office in the morning or something. But the teachers just tell them to, keep it in your pocket. Don't bring it out, in class. But when the teacher's back is turned, there's kids in the back of the class. They're not just tweeting. They're not just posting something on Facebook. They're watching hardcore pornography.
In class?
In class, passing it around, laughing at it. I mean, and getting away with it. And if the teacher turns around and sees the phone out, it's simply put that phone back in your pocket. Not, I'm sorry, what is it you're looking at? Let me see that. You get your butt up to the office. No, it's just, put the phone back in your pocket. It's not the it's not the teacher's job to get involved in that aspect of their life. The way the teachers feel now, not all of them. Now, I don't want to paint too broad a stroke here, but for many of the teachers, well, my job is to teach Johnny how to add 2 and 2 and come up with 4. Although, with this Common Core crap, they have a very convoluted way of adding 2 and 2. My daughter, my Emily, who just turned 8, she came home and she's got this math problem, and there's this incredibly common, and she's in the gifted program, and so they're giving her stuff that's above her grade level, but she's like, well, Dad, can you help me with this problem? And so I just go, I know how to do long division, and I go whippity whip, and there's the answer. And she goes, well, no, but we can't do it that way. I'm like, well, what do you mean? And so she walks me through this, we used to call it long division. Good Lord. They have them going through so many different steps, and they got to round this, and it's just ridiculous. But there's no getting around it, apparently. Right. Not if you're going to have your kid in a public school. I mean, you have to, you got to homeschool, or, mean, we have a lot of charter schools here, right? Do they have charter schools where you are?
Yes, they do.
Is that a common thing? And we actually looked into, at one point, using our historic church downtown to open a charter school. The deal was at the time, and when we looked into this was quite a few years ago, 7, 8 years ago, the state would pay us $5,900 per head. And that would mean we would educate them. You know, we would take over the role of the public school, and so we would have to hire the teachers. And you know, if you take 6,000 and you multiply that over 100 students, that's $600,000. But then you turn around and you start trying to pay your teachers and do all the other things that a school has to provide. And I have to wonder how some of these charter schools are able to, you know, break even, much less show a profit. And there's a big charter school down the street from us that actually just shuttered their doors and went out of business. And I don't know if it was because of economic reasons or something else. But when you were on the force, did you get called to schools very often? Was there school violence? Was there drug issues in the schools? I know that's
occasionally, but you know, occasionally we did. But for the most part, we had a police officer assigned to each of the high schools and junior high schools. We call him a school resource officer, and that officer was responsible for taking care of all issues related to the school, violence, drugs, thefts, all those things. They took their police reports and they did their own investigation. So the rest of us didn't really get involved with that too much.
I'll grab these charts back and get them out of your way so you can go about your business there with your computer. All right, let me see if there was any other questions for you. I think that was the main one. Was from Daniel, who had asked about the increase of the risk. Let's see. Okay, Reg added something else in here. Now, I just want to add in that there's a tremendous amount of pressure on white kids, especially girls, from the Mideastern kids. Now, if this is going on in Canada, I can only say that it must also be going on in our neighborhood schools as well. Reg, tell me what you're referring to, because I read something very disturbing the other day about 3 girls from, I think, London, somewhere in the UK, but I think in London. They were very smart, head of their class type of kids, and just the night before they had a pajama party, acting very normal, taking pictures, posting them on Facebook, and then the next morning they were gone. And they were, I think, 14 and 15 years old, and they figured out a way to get themselves into Turkey or Syria, and they wanted to become part of this ISIS thing. These Western women who come and join up with ISIS are treated, like trophy wives, unlike the women who these guys are running roughshod over in those countries that they, rape and behead and all these other things. If you're a Western female who comes over to join up with them, you have a very prominent position in the organization, in the society, and eventually you are awarded as a wife to one of the soldiers. That's what keeps these guys out on the field fighting. But what is it that can get inside one of our kids' heads? And the parents of these 3 girls that I read this article about, it was a 15-page article. Well, on my Flipboard it was 15 pages. It was a New York Times article, so I don't know how big the article was in the actual newspaper, but 15 pages on the Flipboard on an iPad. It's a huge article. They went into great detail about how they slowly snuck all their clothes and belongings out of the house, and how they were able to get passports and the airline tickets and all of these things. I mean, this wasn't something they just cooked up overnight and, made a snap decision. Kids do that from time to time. This was carefully thought and planned out, and obviously they had help through social media from what are called recruiters, and these are Western women and young girls who have already crossed over, and then through social media they communicate with these young girls and they help them plan out, the great escape and how they're going to get away. I mean, I cannot understand what the attraction is. What's the draw? I mean, do you have any insight in that at all?
No, it doesn't make any sense to me. You kind of think maybe it's a form of rebellion against your family, against your parents, against the whole American society. Because by joining ISIS, you're committing to killing Americans, killing innocent American beings. And I just can't imagine any kid is really rationalizing that and going, okay, if I join ISIS, I'm going to be somebody's trophy wife, but I'm going to have to kill Americans. Do I want to do that? And who in their right mind says, yeah, that's something I'm interested in? It doesn't even make sense to me.
No, and it said that in this article, it said the new rebellion was to be conservative. And when they were questioning some of the girls from this school that these girls had attended, they said the question was something like, well, who are the cool boys on campus? And the answer resoundingly was the brothers who pray. And the scarf, the head wrap, whatever that thing's called, back in the 60s, a girl wore a miniskirt, and that was a sign of rebellion. Or she wore a tank top and showed off, her midriff. But for these girls, the new form of rebellion for these girls is to wear the scarf, the head covering. It's like some bizarro world where everything's actually gone in the opposite direction.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. My era to rebel was to listen to rock and roll music and let your hair get long.
My parents wouldn't let me grow my hair long, and I think as far out as they would let me get is I think I got to wear bell-bottom pants. Yeah. That's really aging myself, but
So you're rebelling right now with that ponytail you're sporting,
yeah,
huh?
this mullet, this whole mullet business, right? That's how I'm saying. Yeah, take that, Mom.
There you go. You're sticking it to your parents pretty hard right now, Dwayne.
I am, man. I know they are. Oh my goodness. Well, we're over our time, so I want to thank you, Jim, for being with us today. And you're going to be in the partners meeting tonight?
I will be in the partners meeting and back in the live trading room tomorrow.
All right, brother. Thanks for everything. We appreciate it, and I'll see you tonight.
Sounds good. Take care.
Okay, buddy. Take care.
Bye.
Okay, guys, that's going to wrap it up for us here today. Let me go ahead and mute Jim's mic so he doesn't have to worry and he can go about doing his thing. If I can find... Boy, he popped out of there quick. He was raring to go. Looks like he's gone already. Yep. Okay. So, he is. All right. So we covered all of the markets, I do believe. Let me double check. Let's see. All right. We came back and crude triggered on the short side. Okay, the short side of the crude was to be crude short below 43.50. So it came down, it triggered on the short side 43.50, and we got all the way down to 43.21. So that's 25 and 4. So that's a 29 tick move. All right. How many ticks does it take? How many ticks does it take to hit your goal in crude oil? 10. Pays $10 per tick. If you're trading the 2420 blueprint, it's a 10 tick journey. There's 20 in that move, and that candle gave 45, and these three, gave 82. Who hangs on for 82? I don't know. Even if you rode it to the top on this pullback, you had to have gotten stopped out. I would think if you're using a stop, and you should be. If not, you won't be trading very long. And so we've now triggered since the show started, and we've made a run to the upside from 44.50, 45.50. Now that was 44.50. How did I figure that? I figured that wrong. That's not 82. That's so not 82. That's 182. How about that? Okay, there we go. Because at 44.50, at 45.50, right here, $45.50. That's $1,000 per contract. At 46.50, come on, behave. 46.50. Come on. $46.50. There we go. $46.50. So that's $2, and so that's 200 ticks. Okay. $10 per tick. Is that $46.50? It is. So there's 1K. And 2K. That's per contract. That's not for the 10 contract trader or the 20 contract trader. That's the one contract. We've never, since I've been tracking crude oil, we have not seen such as this. That isn't even valid anymore because we can see the short was 46.90, and so we got to here at 45.90, and then we got down here to 44.90. Did we make it to 43.90? Oh, we did. Right before the new alerts came out last night, we got down to 43.90. So that was 1,000, 2,000. That was $3,000 per contract yesterday, and so far 2,000 plus today. Now, again, how many ticks does it take if you're just trading the 2420 blueprint, just looking to build your account size, mature as a trader? It takes 8 ticks a day. Not 200. 8. Not 20. 8. So we covered the S&P. We know what happened there. Since the show started, we came back and tested the important price, important area. How many times did we test it? Okay, we broke it the first time, and then once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. And we could be coming back to test it again. Bonds. The word was to be short below 154.18. There was a 20 tick move. We came back. We tested the important price, important area, and then we dropped again. And this time the swing low, not quite as far. We got right down to a low of 154. So that was 18. 20 ticks the first go around and 18 ticks the second go around. How many do you need? 4. That's all. We just talked about crude oil. Soybeans, 870 was the short side, and we got down to a low of 865. Okay, so that's 5 cents. How many do we need to hit the daily goal? 2 cents. That's all. And on the S&P, I mean, that was 90, and then we tested and ran again, and then we tested and ran again, and then we tested and ran again. Just sort of you're almost always going to see this and this. They're going to look very much alike, the S&P and the Dow. Okay, what are they both doing right now? This is the Dow pulling back to the trigger. This is the S&P pulling back to the trigger. Which one leads? Huh. If it were only that simple. You know. Since time began, man has wondered which one. Now here, to be short below 1136 on gold, okay, the first drop got you down to 1135.30. That's only 7 ticks. 4 ticks, if you're trading the blueprint, is where you take your stop to break even. So, you know, worst case is you got stopped out on this trade, but it went far enough to move your stop to break even. And then there was the continuation move that took you down to a low of 1131.20. Okay. So that would be $4.80. Yeah? No. Yeah, $4.80. So 48 ticks at $10 per tick. The euro went from 11.280 down to a swing low at 11.224. And so that's about 55 ticks. $12.50 a tick. 8's all you need. And we already looked at the Russell. Russell, we did 40 ticks on the upside initially, and then from 37 up to 42. So that would be 50 ticks, and it's just been repeating itself again and again. Now on the short side on the Russell, which there was no trigger, the short side would have been 11.19, and so should we get down below 11.19, then we'll start having some different ideas on the Russell. But for now, it just continues to. Here, it just ran up again, and it got to 38.9. So it just did 19 right here. In this hour, it did 19 ticks to the upside. Okay. All right. So I think that covers everything that needs to be covered. A reminder, tonight is the partners meeting. If you want to be in the partners meeting, if you've been on the trial, if you're tired of being on the sidelines, you're tired of watching, you're tired of the crystal balls and the gurus and the wizards and the secret this and the magical that, if you just want to learn how to trade, if that's where your head's at, if you had enough and it's just like, you know what, I'm tired, man. You know, I've been chasing this thing for months, years. I've spent how much? Where does the madness stop? It stops when you say, the answer's not out there, the answer's in here. I just need someone to help me discover that answer that is inside of me. Because that's where the success to your trading lies, inside of you. Yes, we have an education. Yes, we have some indicators to assist you in the process. But ultimately, your success as a trader lies within. So if you want some help, if you want to get this thing turned around once and for all, if you want to start trading in the right direction, I wrote that the other night on the blog. I said if you're tired of blowing up accounts and you actually want to start trading in the right direction, that would be the profitable direction, get a hold of me. support@cfrn.net or call us 949-42-EMINI. 949-42-EMINI. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading Emini Futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.
Amen. Let's pray. If you have your Bibles, if you'd open them to 2 Timothy